So in one of my videos and the Medium blog articles, I described metagraphs and hypergraphs as a way to model semantic and episodic memories. And the main reason why I really stick to such complex graph structures that I observing over the time that just plain directed graphs, even the property one, they quite often is not enough, because the complexity of the topics and complexity of the relations that we try to model go beyond the triples. And if you want, it's better to watch this video, because I raised a couple of questions that, semantic memory have some hierarchical structures, episodic memory have some also subgraph things, that you have the complex combination of the episodes of some semantic memories and all of things, and in the same graph we somehow have the subgraphs together with the hierarchy structures, together with some kind of trees. And when we try to add the temporal context to it, it's go wild, because it's really hard to model time and the memory and the changes of the memory with keeping of the previous changes in a graph. Then everything goes overcomplicated. And the metagraphs looking promising, because you have this superpower to host the subgraphs inside the nodes. You have the superpower of using the ages as a nodes and all other things, and it's extremely powerful and extremely generalized data structure. But another challenge of the metagraphs, but that even the hypergraphs right now, that we have no tools. We have no databases that allow us to support hypergraphs and metagraphs, and somehow we ignore all the toolings and all the good work that people made with the directed graphs. And it's a big challenge, because it's hard to be the pioneer. And maybe we could take some elements of the metagraphs and make them useful, but not implementing the entire metagraph. And we have a couple of interesting building blocks. So one interesting building block, it's a meta node, right? So it's a node that could contain the subgraph inside. It's super cool. And another quite interesting concept, it's the meta age, right? So it's a possibility to connect multiple entities together. And so maybe it's yet another subgraphish thing. Yet another interesting building block that could be modeled in a metagraphs, it's layers. So you could see the graph not as a one big graph, but as a layered structure that have his own relations and all other things. So it's look like a cake of the different things. You could have the semantic layers, and after that some other layers and all other things. And we have this interesting concept of the layered graph, where you have the ability of using the edges as a nodes in the next layer. And I also wrote the article about this layered graphs that could marry the RDF and property graphs together. And then we have quite interesting story that we have quite two powerful data structures that are similar to each other but have the different properties. One interesting structure is the layered hypergraph. That you have a hypergraph, and in hypergraph you could have the edge that connect to multiple entities, multiple nodes, but you have no ability to point to the edge as a node. But if we add this multi-layer approach to the hypergraph, then we have the multi-layered hypergraph. Then you could address the edge as a nodes, right? So you could build a layer on top and connect things together, and somehow you could build the next and next layers that will reference some hyper edges together with lower hyper edges and so on. It's really promising and powerful, and but it's built around hyper edges. And we have a lot of interesting works of semantic hypergraphs, and we have a lot of works around the hypergraphs. But unfortunately, we don't have the databases that could handle such things. But I was able to build the layered graphs as a relational database, and hypergraphs as a relational database. So it's possible. Another quite powerful structure that came as a simplification of the metagraphs built around the hypernodes. So it's possibility to see the subgraph as a node. And the good news about this structure that we could map it back to the RDF, because RDF have the concept of named graph, and RDF already have some capabilities to build the ontologies for such structures, to build, to apply the tools that we already have. So you see this graph of graphs as a bit more hierarchical, fractal structure, and so on. And you have more power to use the tools and use the database that already exists to build some complex relations like the hierarchies of the concepts and all other things. And you have this graph of graphs or layered hypergraphs that quite similar, but layered hypergraph, in my humble opinion, have more power and more expressiveness, but have less ability to build the hierarchical relations, and the graph of graph structure more tailored to tools that we already have and the world that we already live. But we still could combine these two big and powerful data structures with the layered approach. Then we have independent graphs that lift the connections. So we could query not entire cake, but some layers to layers, and go down when we want more details or different kind of details. And with layers we could control, for example, different kind of information, because we could have the semantic layer, more abstract semantic layer. Then we could have maybe time dimension, maybe then we could have the event dimensions, and on top of the event and semantic dimensions, the layers, we could have the episodic memory layers, and in this episodic memory layer we could link the different episodes and understand the impact of each other, and then link back to the one floor down to the events, link back to the couple of floors down to the semantic entities, and build less cluttered and more focused structures. But these structures still could be either the graph of graphs or the layered hypergraphs that even build more layered cakes, right? So it's a bit abstract and it's a bit super complex. But these approaches give us the power of the metagraphs with some limited, use, but they give us more better tools that we could build it today and not build everything from scratch. So that's all that I was keen to share with you today, and thank you for listening. See you next time. Choose.